Okay, let's do the Good Life meditation for uh, Friday, December 3rd, 2021. My name is Kurt Bell, and the Good Life is my daily remembrance and recitation of objectives and principles that I use to guide my life. These objectives and principles are described in my book, Going Alone, and in the sequel, The Good Life. I do this every morning, and I do it to remember these things and also to review them to see if they're still sound. And if they're not, then to either change them or get rid of them. So let's do this. Number one, first objective is to be always ready to die. To try to have my affairs in a settled or as settled a state as possible, in readiness for my own death, should death come any moment. Namely, my finances, my relationships, and whatever life's work I want to do, to have those things in good order. The next objective is the objective of the good and effective use of time, to be doing good things with my time, to not be wasting it or killing time, so that I can get as much done as possible, to be effective with my life in the time that I have remaining. Number three is the development and maintenance of good and sound life principles. This is precisely these objectives and principles that I'm relating now. They need to be good insofar as they help me to pursue what I would consider to be a good life, a virtuous life, and they need to be sound. Sound simply being that they need to be able to withstand reason, the scrutiny of reason. That's the good and sound values. Next is the cultivation of good emotional reactions, which I'm working really hard at right now. Can you tell? I had a tough night last night. I started my new job yesterday, and boy, I'm sure it's coming through. I always struggle with change. I don't know why I embrace change so readily, because I always struggle with it. And I had a tough time last night, so I'm working really hard to have good emotional reactions right now, even if it's just superfluous on the outside. The next objective is the performance of good actions, just to do good things throughout the day. Next is the principle of be always ready to die, good and effective use of time, development and maintenance of good and sound life principles, good emotional reactions, perform good actions. Oh yeah, recognize true limits and true opportunities. I think that's why I'm struggling so much last night. I had a good look at my new job yesterday. And I think it's something, the projects that I'm being given, the big one, is something that I can do, but it's really hard. It's going to really press the limits thing. Yeah, and I'm nervous. I like a good challenge, though. So the next one is one thing slowly, just to strive to not multitask in life, but just to do one thing at a time and do it slowly. So those are my 7 objectives. Let's do the 27 principles now. First is the principle of war, to be always at war with everything that I hold true, and everything that anybody else proposes is true as well. 2, the principle of reason, and the sub-principles of honesty, objectivity, and doubt. Reason is the tool that I use in the prosecution of my war on proposals of truth. I try to be honest with myself. I try to objectively look at things. And I try to use reason as my arbiter. Number 3 is the homunculus, the concept of a little man, or if you're a little woman living inside your head, or consciousness. A reminder that this little person is going to die with us. Doesn't seem like there's any chance of it carrying on. So telling ourselves fantasies of forever are just that, and not a very good use of time. Next is the the Anchorhold. The Anchorhold is like a little rock sticking out of the water. We're perched on top, and the sea churns and swirls around us. I'm on my own Anchorhold right now, and the tide is high and a little bit stormy. That's one of the reasons I'm kind of worried. I'll be okay. This is always the case. I just take my job so damn seriously. And I'd have it no other way. After the Anchorhold is the home of good and evil. The idea that my objectives and principles are written in chalk somewhere on the inside of my head by the homunculus up there writing it away. Chalk because it blows away in the wind. And it can be scratched out and corrected. Tried not to use any indelible substances in the recording of my principles and objectives. The next is the principle of purpose. I have a purpose. My purpose is to, 1, to be a good husband and father. 2, and member of my family and community. 2, to live a virtuous life, where virtue is defined as the activities and decisions and actions that further the well-being of thinking creatures. And 3, mission, to have some missions in life and to be executing those missions in my time remaining. The next principle is the atomic principle, the idea that everything in the universe is made of bits and pieces that are falling to pieces, and that includes us. So use this apparatus while you have time, because it's already decaying away. After principle of purpose is the atomic principle, the idea that everything is made of bits and pieces, flowing and changing and forever transforming. Again, falling away. Did I just do the same principle twice? The next is the principle of nature. Everything has some particular nature, and it's good to recognize what that nature is so that we can abide it. And it's good to recognize the nature of other things too. It's the nature of new jobs to be challenging. Next is the principle of the pirate ride. The idea that that free will may be an illusion, and that we're really just flowing along. The next is the principle of maturity, and the sub-principles of honesty and objectivity. No, the sub-principles of wisdom and fortitude. Maturity is that state when we acquire wisdom and then maintain the strength to apply it. I could try to use a little maturity right now. I think I'm seeing a little glimmer of it, and that I've been in this position with work so many times that, and I've been so nervous before, and I've always gotten through it. That maybe I'm starting to believe that I can. That would be wisdom, if I do say so myself. The next is the social principle. We are social animals, and we need one another. And our best living is social living. After that comes the principle of public speaking, to use few words and carefully chosen words and very deliberate words, and to always talk about others as though they can hear what I'm saying about them. Next is the principle of temperance, and the sub-principles of suffering, simplicity, and apathy. Temperance is our controlled consumption of everything, anything at all, including our emotions. We suffer when we deny ourselves what we want. A simple life is a temperate life. And apathy is the virtue of being able to recognize what is not within our control and to let that be. For example, there's a lot of factors in this new job, this new mission that I've got, that are a little bit outside of my control. I've got to remember that. I've got to be temperate. I have to temper my expectations to what is really with my true limits and my true opportunities. And the limits of opportunities of others. The Feast of Offal is the, what we do visibly to affect others when we're upset. Spewing out of our upset into the world, our emotions, not having good control of our emotions, and impacting others. I try to avoid that feast because it really doesn't do any good, and it just upsets other people, and they wind up doing the same to others, and it just carries on. And I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that to others, let alone myself. The next is the principle of distraction. We spend our lives distracting ourselves from what? From the next principle, which is the great indifference. Actually, it's two parts. Agency and the great indifference. The recognition that there are agents, living, thinking creatures. And then there's everything else. The universe, the dead universe. And that dead universe collectively is the great indifference, which doesn't seem to give a damn. A universe apparently without God. And that's something that is hard for us to accept, because we want there to be protection and promise and oversight and maybe a chance of forever. And it doesn't seem like there is. So if we work a lot and play and have hobbies and go to football games and, make love and have kids and get a mortgage and, fret about money all the way to the end, then we don't have to address that fact. Oh, and if we pray and if we believe, especially, then we don't have to address the great indifference, and we can die in peace. I'd rather die contemplating what appears to be real than just wishful thinking. Next is the best seat in the house. Do not want to be anyone else, be anywhere else, or be doing anything else, but to be okay with who I am, where I am, and what I'm doing at all times. Tough thing to do. After that comes the Path of Wildness. It's a way forward through and into new life. And I'm on the path right now with my new job, right? It's a little edgy out here on the path. It always is. But the results are worth it. I was up late last night. I wake up at 4 a.m. I was up late last night assembling my wife's new desk. And I'm glad I did, because she's ready to work now this morning. And this morning I'll assemble my daughter's new desk. They got hers and hers matching desks for their office. My wife's office, really, but she invited my daughter to come spend time to set up her desk in there. It's going to be nice. Oh, the next principle is is it? Yeah, I did. Oh, the Path of Wildness. Yes. Now, the risk of avoiding risk. The recognition that there are surface level risks of life. That's the standard things of finding a spouse, getting an education, buying a house, etc. And then the deep risks of not, doing something with our lives that satisfies that inner want. The poet in us, the artist, the writer, the creative type. If we're so inclined and we ignore that, I think there'll be a price to pay later. It's good to try to address both levels of risk, not exclusively one or the other. It's a tricky thing to do, to have family and and career and the like, and also be self-actualized. The next principle is the principle of sin and damnation. We sin when we live a life in contrary to our principles and objectives. And for my worldview, there are 7 sins, and these are hope, which is a hollow feeling, a hollow desire, seemingly devoid of action. It simply prescribes us to want something, and I don't think it's not catalyzed into action in any way. So hope alone, I think, is a sin. It needs to be more motive and activated to have some virtue in it. So hope in conjunction with a plan and an activity is maybe a good combination, but hope alone, no. I just wish it would be. The next sin is credulity, or just an overwillingness to believe. Number 3 is faith, which is simply believing because we want to believe. We don't have any good evidence, so we'll just call the fact that we don't have any evidence. What the hell is that? That's a sin, and I'm guilty of that sin. The pirate ride, the idea that there's no free will, I can't prove that, but I believe it. So there. It's an article of faith. I wish I was better, though. I wish I could suspend that one too. The next sin is superstition. After that, do I need to explain why? Then there's dogma. Believing something because it's written in a book. Authority, believing something because someone who's convincing says so, alone, or maybe out in large part. And then the last sin is gossip, bad one. The next principle is the principle of the great life adventure. One or more activities or events in our lives that become a centerpiece for who we are. It's really important to have that. Kind of builds our character and identity. And it's the thing we long for late in life if we don't do it when we're young. And we try to get it back, and it usually doesn't work out. Or not so well. It's like trying to say you're going to be an Olympic athlete, in your 50s. You can be an athlete, but it won't be the same. There's something about the decade of the 20s for the pursuit of dreams. It doesn't mean that you can't do things later, but there's some things that you can't do later, or at least they're certainly not the same. Okay, after this is the season of philosophy. That's a time in life to record what we've learned along the way and whatever message we want to leave behind, because behind's going to be here soon. So we better get writing. After the season of philosophy is the bullseye aim, the concept of striving for the mark and usually missing. I did that twice at least yesterday, and I knew I would. I went into yesterday's first day telling myself it was one of the principles when I start the day, I usually ask myself, what principles am I likely going to need today? And I told myself, Kurt, you're going to put your foot in your mouth here, because I was in person at work. You're going to say things that are not right or weird or whatever, and I was ready. And I said the principle of the bullseye aim is going to come into play, and it sure did, twice, once quite visibly. But I made efforts to amend that. Nothing serious. I reached out and said, whoopsie me, and things are okay. It's amazing how those things happen. After the bullseye aim is the arena and utility. Life is an arena for the execution of our lives, and our utilities are these very principles that I'm relating right now. Well, these are mine. You've got yours, right? If you don't, you're welcome to borrow mine, or use mine, or develop mine, or whatever. They're in the book. You can get the book on Amazon. or you can go to my website, goingalone.org, and you can buy it there, and I sign it then. After the arena and utility is the last one, which is nothing is enough. The idea that less can be better than more. Boy, I've reached a point of life where less is really desirable. Okay, so that's my good life meditation. Now let's reflect on the day. Today I've got the day off, but I've got a couple of chores that I need to do. I've got my new monitors have arrived for the computer, but they're not adjustable, so I need to try to find a mounting bracket that'll mount on the back of the desk and then mount on the monitors. So I'm going to go to Best Buy to do that. That's a store for electronics here and now. If they don't have it, then I'll get something on Amazon. I'm also going to buy a printer and scanner for my wife because she's setting up her office downstairs. She needs that. I'm going to get a good one for her. I'm also going to finish setting up the desk down there. My wife got, like I said, she got hers and hers matching desks. I set up hers, my wife's yesterday, and this morning I'll set up Emily's. Then I've got to clean all this stuff up, all these boxes. And then I've got to, I'm hoping to do some work today to get things further settled in my new computer and the like. And also do some, because I've got a new computer from work that I have to set up for work. And I'm hoping to do some studying too for the new job. I've got the rest of the weekend to do that. Although one of these days I'm going to go down to Irvine, the family and I'm going to go down to Irvine to one last load of stuff to pick up. So what problems could I have through the day? Well, this emotions that I'm feeling right now of anxiety are going to be probably constant throughout the day. So that'll be an undercurrent, and I tend to mumble when I'm anxious. So I'll try to temper my mumbling because my wife can tell right away that I'm having problems, and she's very good at picking that up. And I don't want to hide that from her, but I don't want to burden her with that either. So I might need a little temperance to do that. What else? That might be it. Not too challenging a day, but it'll be a challenging day to keep my spirits up. Well, I tend to get a little down when I'm anxious. Okay. Thank you for sitting with me for the good life today. I wish you all the best, and I hope that you be safe, but not too safe. Take care.